Hey everyone, Ariel Adams here with aBlogtoWatch. Please subscribe to our videos on YouTube and like this video if you find it useful. This is a review of the Glashütte Original Senator Chronometer, and it's a great watch if you're a watch nerd. It's also elegant and beautiful and useful and meant to be very precise. And this is an interesting watch to review because it does things that a lot of other watches don't. But if you just sort of saw the dial, you wouldn't necessarily know it. Now, what I really like about Glashütte Original, which is a high-end German brand, is that when they do things different, it really focuses on functionality. And that's sort of a hallmark of a lot of high-end German watches, is this sort of utilitarian philosophy of when it comes to making a high-end watch. It's as though they imagine a world where quartz watches never existed, and their job is to continue to create accurate, precise mechanical watches. Now, I believe that this is the first ever Glashütte Original watch that is chronometer certified, but it's not KOSK chronometer certified because KOSK is in Switzerland. And so KOSK has no ownership of the term chronometer. And so Glashütte, not the brand, but the city, has their own certification process in the Glashütte Observatory, and it's very similar to the KOSK chronometer standards in terms of accuracy of, I think it's like +4, -6, or -4, +6 seconds per day. But what's different is that at the German one, they test the movement cased inside of the watch, whereas in the Swiss KOSK center, they don't. And that actually makes a big difference. So I think the takeaway message is that German chronometer watches tend to be more accurate than Swiss chronometer watches, and that's sort of cool. The movement is visible through the sapphire crystal case back, and it's really beautiful. They do a very nice job. You can see sort of this distinctive German 3/4 base plate there. There you have the escapement. It's a 4 Hertz movement. It operates for about 44 hours. It's got about just over 2 days of power reserve. It's manually wound. And you have some hand engraving there on the balance cock. Overall, very nice finishing on the movement. And it's really great to see the movement taking up so much of the case back. The case actually looks bigger than it is. It's 42 millimeters wide. And this year in 2016, they released a new version of the watch. This is the 18 karat rose gold version. There's an 18 karat white gold version with a blue dial. And one of the things they changed is they made the bezel even thinner so the watch appears larger because the dial appears larger. The movement is the caliber 5801. And let me sort of explain what it does because it's actually quite cool. Now, on the dial you have the time, and with really nicely done blued steel hands with that sort of distinctive style. The hands are the proper length. A large subsidiary seconds dial, a big date indicator at 3 o'clock, a power reserve indicator, and if you look at the bottom of the power reserve indicator, you'll see a small window, and that window is actually an AM/PM indicator, which is very useful. It goes along sort of the whole theory of setting the time. Now here's one of the interesting features of the watch. When you pull out the crown, do you see what happened? The seconds hand reverts to 0. So it's called a 0 reset function. It's sort of a step above a hacking second. So a hacking seconds watch means that when you pull out the crown, the time stops, which allows you to set the time more precisely. With the 0 reset, it resets it back to 0, which means it's an additional ability to set it more precisely because you start the minute at 0 versus wherever it damn pleases. So I'll pull it out, and you'll see it'll revert to 0 again. And here's the second cool part. I don't know what the name is for this, but when you adjust the minutes, there's little notches. So rather than moving the minute hand just sort of randomly and trying to eye it, you actually move it precisely from minute to minute. It's easy to do, but when you set it, again, it notches into place. Each minute has its own notch, which is cool. And it's the first watch I've ever seen that does that. And again, the whole idea is to allow you to set it very, very precisely. And again, that goes along with the entire sort of theme of being a precise chronometer rated watch, which I think is cool. I'm moving it past 6 o'clock here, and you'll notice that the little window in the power reserve indicator went from being white to black, or perhaps it's a dark blue color, to show that you are now in PM time versus AM time, which is great. The big date indicator, it just works out well because it allows the date to be more proportionally sized to the dial, which I think works out really well. Again, I mentioned that the case here is 42 millimeters wide, 12.3 millimeters thick, so it's not crazy thin, but I think it works well. Nice fitted strap. Glashütte actually produces two strap sizes. There's a regular and a small, and this is the regular one. It's a little bit big for my wrist, so I have to have them send me the small one, but it's okay. It fits pretty well here. Very elegant design, super classy, but also legible. And I think despite the conservatism of a watch like this, it's so focused on function, but it has such a high degree of elegance that it makes a very unique statement about the wearer, in terms of them being someone who's very much interested in machinery, precision machinery, as opposed to just sort of liking old designs, which I think is the case with a lot of elegant watches. And that's what sort of, for me, makes the Senator Chronometer kind of like a watch lover's watch, because you have to be a watch lover to really understand the mechanisms it has. And when you operate as a watch lover, you smile because you're like, oh wow, that's really cool, because you wouldn't thought of that stuff. And then in terms of convenience, it's legible. You have the features you need every day, and despite the fact that it's manually wound, as you probably know, I like automatic winding movements, you have that very handy power reserve indicator with that relatively symmetrical dial that works really well. So again, this is the Glashütte Original Senator Chronometer, watch I really like, and price here in 18 karat rose gold is 25,000 euros, and you can see the full review on aBlogtoWatch. Thanks.